Are we okay? We got to fucking, we've got to do the fucking shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Lorne, you don't know me, but I'm someone who can help. I'm someone who could explain to you why people run away from you. And you're going to say, well, yeah, you know, it's because of my charge. No, that's not why. I mean, that's part of the reason, because when people find out what you did, that you still deny, and I made a video about your denial, this is about your insecurity that you're in denial about. Now, people who are insecure, if this video was about them, they turn it off because they don't want to hear anything that can be the truth outside of what they believe. Imagine, Lorne, all of your relationships, interpersonal, regular, romantic. Imagine they're like planting flowers or a tree. In the beginning, it's exciting because you pick the flowers out, you're watering them, you're nurturing them, you're trying to see how many actually bloom, how many of those flowers are going to turn out to be beautiful. You will have to clip some of the dead flowers that come out off, some of those dead offshoots, so they can grow. And that's what people try to help you do. They try to help you trim those off. But you allow them to stay. And any flowers, any beauty, anything that smells nice that you might have is tainted by those dead offshoots. Automatically, you start off worse than you should. Secondly, it becomes a maintenance gig. You have to make sure they're watered, they get plant food, and that you trim off those bad offshoots. Some of those bad offshoots, Lorne, are your doing. We have listened to maybe 1,000 hours of calls involving you, and they all end in the same way. And you always say, I know what my problem is, I have to fix it. You may not understand what my problem is, but I do, and that's what's important. It's a lie that you keep telling yourself. You told Ramona at one point, you haven't been yourself. You haven't been you. Do you understand how desperate and sad that is? It's not something a woman wants to hear. It's something she wants to run away from. That is a deep-seated insecurity. It is a deep-seated feeling of inadequacy. And you are constantly asking them, do you love me? Do you care about me? That's not something you should ever do. And it's instant death for a relationship, because it implies the other person isn't doing what they think is right, what they think they need to, that they don't have a clue what to do in a relationship, and that they have to constantly give you positive reinforcement, intermittent reinforcement, because you need it so badly. You can't see the forest for the trees, Lorne. The reason that you do that is because you lose touch with reality, and this is something that insecure people do. And the reason they can't recognize that they do this is because this very thing prevents them from recognizing it. You know, you create these imaginary scenarios in your head. You think this has to be what's happening, because this is the only explanation for them not texting or calling me. They must be cheating on me. And you've told yourself, well, it's the only way I can get your attention. Well, you're not showing me that you're not cheating on me. If you say to them, are you cheating on me? And they say, Lorne, I'm not playing this game. You say, well, you didn't say no. So all you want to do is come up with these fake scenarios and try to trap them into making them real. Because people who are insecure, they spend a lot of time, just like relationship OCD. Go back and watch my video, Lorne. They spend a lot of time outside of the bubble of reality. You spend a lot of time in Lorne world, and you have to get out of that. Otherwise, these delusional, false truths that you're telling yourself They're going to eat you alive. And no woman wants to deal with this. No woman does. And you always reason it out. It's my past. Which is what we're about to get into. Lorne, we did research. We know what relationships were real and what relationships you had in your head. If you've turned this off already, Lorne, and you don't hear this, it's a shame. But if you've stuck with it and you're still going and you really want to change, for the first time, I'm sure the community is proud of you. The last thing you want to do, aside from all that other stuff, is bring up your past in a current relationship. Women are not stupid. You are not a catch when you are doing this. For some reason, you think you are God's gift to women, and you're not. You're the furthest thing from it, but you can't see it, or you won't see it because of your denial. So I want you to hear me. Women do not want to hear about your past failures, about using your past as an excuse for your terrible behavior. They can only imagine the reason those relationships are in the past is because of your terrible behavior. Because the first thing they're thinking is not, oh, poor Lorne. They're thinking, those poor women who had to deal with this, and now I'm having to choose whether or not I want to deal with this. Lorne, had those women in the past not been fake, you wouldn't have lasted more than a couple hours with them. Because it comes out. You can't help it. You have nothing else to talk about. So you talk about all of the crap things in your life because there are so many crap things in your life that that's what you fall back on. And you can't blame your behavior again on the mistakes you made in the past. Not those women, because the way you act, no woman should ever be subjected to. This is something scary. This is something that you do that is really scary. You are the one, the only one, that determines whether or not you're in a relationship with a woman and whether or not you're broken up. It's very difficult to see a scenario where you're actually going to consider a relationship over. You don't need their permission to have a relationship. We have seen it. We have heard about it. We were headed to a relationship. In your head, Lorne, you were headed to a relationship. It's almost as if the other person doesn't exist. And this is what you want, so you're going to try to get it. I want you to put yourself on the other side. And you have a crackhead, a psycho murderer on the other. And you don't want to be with them anymore. And you tell them, we're done. And they respond with, we're not broken up. I believe we can work on it, Lorne, so we are not broken up. In your world, you want to run screaming the other way, but for some reason, they won't let it go. And you're stuck with this crackhead, psycho woman who is telling you the relationship isn't over, even though you have stated, I want out. This is not an option for anyone, Lorne. When they're done, they're done. When a woman is telling you, I want to live my life, I want to date people my age, I want to experience the good things, you do not have the right. Your insecurity, your denial does not have the right to tell them, no, you're staying with me because we're going to work on this. That is something really scary, Lorne. And to tell a woman, I can hear it in your voice that you like me, or that we're headed to a relationship because I'm trying to get with you. It's really scary. I went off on a tangent there, but you need to hear that. Why did I talk about that? Because other behaviors you display are just as scary. You remember the whole, why does it sound like you're putting on makeup? And I'm not going to dive into that because you know why you did that. Because in your head, you're sure, and I don't know why you would stay with anybody, you're sure they were cheating on you, they were getting ready to cheat on you. I want you to really take a step back and think about how insecure somebody must be to believe that every sound is someone cheating on them. That because you can't hear any noise in the background, you assume the reason you can't hear any noise is because the guy is being really quiet. And if there is noise, you assume the noise is a guy being really loud. Lorne, I believe you are a virgin, and no matter what you tell yourself, you are a virgin. And that's why you don't understand how sex is initiated. You're so insecure, and there are many reasons. Financial situations for men are some of the biggest. Now, whether you want to admit it, whether you want to tell yourself it's the truth or tell anyone, hey, this is where I'm at, it's not good, really tell them, Lorne, not just think it and say, it's okay though, it's okay, I'm going to fix it. You should never start a relationship, especially if you're insecure, if you're financially insecure, because you have nothing to offer. You know you have nothing to offer. They know you have nothing to offer. And you're going to constantly be worried about if they're going to find somebody else who has something to offer. Like you thought Ramona was only interested in the doctor because of his money. And also his 8-inch horse dick, as you said. But if you think a woman is only into guys for their money, that is not because of your experience. That is because of your self-knowledge that you don't have any money. You don't have any financial security to offer. So you're going to be insecure about your situation. You seem to have a tendency in the middle of a relationship, after it's gone for about 6 months, to say stuff like, we need to be talking. You need to call me so we can figure this out. From the start, because you're insecure, because you're from Cornville, Maine, and your insecurities are off the charts, you need to tell any woman who's crazy enough to be with you, I expect open communication often, honest communication, because you say you believe in them, but you put yourself on mute in a 3-way call so you can hear what they say. You wanted to control what Jamie, Amy, and Will talked about, and you wanted to control what they said about you because you know your behavior is improper, it's unacceptable, and you don't want anyone else knowing. You refuse to accept that you're mentally and verbally abusive, and women will run away because of that. I think you know you are, but you just brush it off as my past, or you're not being open and honest with me, you're lying, you're telling people falsehoods. Listen, Lorne, you must tell them from the beginning, I expect open and honest communication often. And you, yourself, have to believe it. Otherwise, there is no point in communicating with this person, because you can never trust them, because you live in Lorne world. Those fake things you have in your head, the preconceived notion that everything that they say is going to be horse shit, as you say. Start those conversations when things are good, because if they're bad, it's only going to make them worse. And you can't mind read. So stop mind reading. Listen, really listen, and trust what they're saying is the truth. Because your insecurities, they're what's making you think they're cheating or that they're lying. Not that they've given you any sign. You have created these scenarios with the things that they've said. You've cherry-picked little things they've said, and you've held on to them. And they're trying to tell you, hey, this is not happening, and this is your fault. But at one point in your life, you heard it takes two to tango. So you assume that it's their fault, they've got an involvement in the fact that you are the most insecure individual I've ever heard. And I've spoken as an unofficial therapist, because I do not do this for a living, but I do have a diploma. I've spoken to them, and they don't take it to the level you do. You've allowed it to go on for too long, and you need serious help and medication. Once again, if you are to the point where you're always asking them, you're acting kind of strange, are you sure there's nothing bothering you? That's the end of the relationship. There's no coming back from it, because nothing that they do is ever going to convince you or help you overcome your insecurity. because you're already to the point of asking that question. You need to stop, Lorne. It needs to stop. And you need to stop using excuses. The best and strongest relationships are between two people who have their own lives and sets of friends. It strengthens a relationship because if you meld those together, if you try to morph them into one person, it's going to fail. There's no room to grow. You're trapped inside a little bubble trying to isolate yourself from the outside world. That's not how you grow as a person. You don't grow as a person. And I know you're telling yourself right now, well, you grow as a couple. No, you're going to wither and die, especially if you don't have your own identity, your own hobbies, your own interests that don't involve the other person. You can't be a couple if you're both the same person. You're a singularity, and that is a recipe for disaster. Lorne, there are a lot of things I can talk about, but I'm going to leave you with this. Your relationship, it's going to have ups, it's going to have downs, it's going to have highs and lows. Just like I told you about the plant or the flowers, you have to care for it and nurture it. You have to do those things in a positive way. You can't stand over top of it. You can't put it in your shadow. You have to take care of it. You shouldn't freak out. You shouldn't immediately jump to conclusions. You should trust your partner, no matter what. No matter if your alarm bells are going off. Lorne, those are alarm bells you installed, you created. So what I'm telling you is, let it grow. Stop using your past as an excuse. Stop accusing the person. Stop worrying about whether things are okay. If they're not, they're going to tell you, and they have done that millions of times, but you don't want to listen. You just want to keep barreling through. And relationships require two people to consent, and you need to understand they don't need your permission to leave, and they don't need your permission to step into a relationship. You can't just assume you have one. And if you do think you have a relationship, and they tell you you do, then you can't take ownership of it. And you can't start screaming and yelling. And every time they mention a guy, you go crazy. Because not every guy wants to have sex. I have many women as my friends. And even though I may find some of them pretty, they're my friends. And I'm not just waiting for them one day to go, hey, I'm going to take my clothes off. Let's have sex. I'm worried about how they're doing, how their family is doing. I'm worried about them. I'm not worried about what's between their legs and what's between mine. So take a look at yourself, Lorne. If you don't get real help, a psychotherapist who's going to be brutal with you, if you don't get on medication, if you don't accept who you are and where you're at in life, and you don't understand that it's not a good place to be, those insecurities, your potential relationships, they're going to crumble right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it until you fix yourself. Lord, I hope you hear this. I really do. For everyone else listening, I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.